Everyone wants happiness and success, and we know how to get you there. Come listen to the Leadership Society of Arizona as we teach a proven logic to help you simplify life, overcome challenges, and predict the future. You're listening to the Logic and Life Coaching Podcast. Welcome to the Logic and Life Coaching Podcast. My name is Chuck Zulanas, and I'm joined by our special guest, Dr. Jacob Kashiwagi.
Hi, Chuck.
I know on Dr. Jake's part of the podcast, you are considered a co-host, but here you are a special guest.
I always knew I liked this one better.
What a treat. This week, I wanted to talk a little bit about creativity and self-expression, I guess. And so when you're creating something new or unique, there's often a fear of rejection or a fear of judgment when you perhaps publish a book, or when you go out and you create some new artwork, or you try something different. So I know that you have been kind of a serial entrepreneur, creating new things, creating different leadership models, doing different things in the business world. So I'm curious, how do you balance that need for creativity or that self-expression with the fear of judgment or rejection? And how do you do it well?
Okay, that's a good question. I think I balance it by not caring what people think.
Okay.
Okay, so, but seriously, I don't really care a lot about what people think, so that helps me in my overall general capability to do new things.
Okay.
But we need to look at where is this fear coming from, right? And oftentimes the fear of like starting a new product or a new business, it's not only an emotional thing, but it's a reality of, if this doesn't sell or if this doesn't do well, then it's going to affect my ability to have a career, to make money, to maybe even have enough money to live. And in order to calm that side of it, the realistic fears that people have, usually I never do anything. I never spend time on anything unless it meets one of two criteria, which is either one, I love it and I'm spending my free time on it, so it doesn't matter if nothing comes of it. Or two, it's something I love, but it's tied to business in some way, and I will not do that unless I know already from previous actions or just my intuition, unless I know it's going to sell, unless I know the minimum amount of people are going to like it, that I'm going to be able to survive.
So what's your minimum?
Well, it depends. For example, when we started doing our summer programs for LSA and whatnot, the minimum was, we're not going to put effort until someone's willing to pay us for it. And then the pay had to be greater than the effort we would have to put in. And we needed to know that up front. But wouldn't you know, the Bear Honors College, willing to pay the instructors, they paid a really good fee. And, that's how we started getting into the summer programs, is the opportunity presented itself that we knew somebody wanted what we had. And then we did it. And as we kept going and we found out that students really just liked our program, we decided to break off and do our own program at a point when we knew enough students went through our program, liked it, and enough parents reached out to us saying, hey, we're willing to buy into the summer program. And then what we did was, when we put it out there, we didn't actually confirm any of the programs unless it meant a minimum amount of students, to cover our costs. And so the first year we did it, we did 3 programs, and all of them filled out. So we were able to run it. And the next year we increased it and we increased it. But I always say you got to have someone who's going to buy your stuff before you put effort into it.
Yeah.
And I put minimal effort until I know that. So that kind of helps out on the fear of, hey, this might not be, be successful. We try it out first. We make sure that, someone's saying, yes, I love it first. And that's always a good way to go if it's tied to business. Now, if it's tied on the other end, to emotional fears like, fear of you feeling bad or looking bad because you did such a bad job on something or because everyone thought it was, really bad. What have I done in the past to overcome that fear? I think you need to reach out to people for that. Meaning, if no one has read your book and you're going to put it out there, publish it for the first time, and no one's read it, and you have no clue if it's good or not, and you really care what people think, that's kind of like not the best situation.
Yeah.
But if you let like 20 people read it, and maybe you just let them read a chapter at first, because then if they don't like it, it doesn't mean, that the book couldn't be good. It's just the first chapter, so it's very minimal. If you do it in stages and you make sure you get people who respects you, regardless of if you do something really bad, they're not going to look down on you. Maybe if you reach out to them first, right, then when you publish the whole thing, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And that's what I always do anyways. Just as good business practice. So those are kind of, I think, some of the things I've done in order to tame, the fear and the stress that comes with people not liking what you do.
Yeah, like testing it out, seeing if there is someone that enjoys it. I know we had talked about how there's this one story that we had talked about on a previous podcast where like some people just don't know how to evaluate value. So like you could go to one pawn shop and they'll say one item's worth like $5, or you could go to a dealer and say it's worth a couple hundred, and then if you go to like a collector, they realize, oh, it's worth millions, right? So
yes,
it really just does depend on the expertise that you are looking at too.
Yes, it partially has to do with your stability as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you've had some success in the past and people have really liked what you've done in the past, and maybe you've done it a lot in the past and people have loved it, and then you release maybe say a new book. It's your like 50th book you've released. Well, if people don't like that one book, because you've had so much success in the past, you're not going to get too down on yourself.
Sure.
Right? And so balancing also making sure that you become good at something and you get some success behind you, you find something that you can do really well. If you do that, then as you move forward and you try new things and you put out new things, then it won't be as fearful about it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's why I haven't really cared as much what people thought per se, because the things I did at first were very conservative. I got some success behind me. I was able to do some things when I was younger that made me feel like, hey, I actually have great potential. So as I started to do more innovative things that, maybe I didn't quite know how people would like, I didn't fear it as much because I thought, if that doesn't work out, well, heck, I can always go and do the previous thing that I was doing before.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it makes sense. And I think just when you're starting out, especially like in like creative outlets or self-expression or something like that, and you go out and you share it with someone for the first time, there's definitely a fear, right? Like a lot of people just feel like, oh, nobody's going to understand me. And I've I've definitely found this, especially with my kids, like that are 4 and 2, like they try and do a lot of new things, and they're constantly seeking approval or appreciation for their creative work. So like my daughter, when she first started singing, she was terrible. She was so bad. Like she's so off pitch. It was so awful to hear her. And now she like, but we just kept encouraging her on it, and now she's gotten a lot better. And so now she's more in tune. She can memorize the like the melody and things like that. And it's just kind of kind of interesting how sometimes you start off and you fail miserably. But if you have like a nurturing environment behind it, it kind of cultivates better things.
Yes. And it's maybe that's something else too. I was a prolific studier of people who've been successful in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I researched everyone who was successful and documented kind of what they went through. And the more you research that, the more you know about what it takes to be successful. Also, it really brings a lot of confidence to you because you start realizing a lot of these people who got a lot of success, they got a lot of failures as well, right? They started out and they failed quite a bit, and a lot of people who have been successful failed quite a bit, and some of them failed so much, but because they persevered through it, they found great success in their 50s. Right? You look at like Morgan Freeman, you look at the guy who created the cup of noodles. I mean, he was a failed business guy until he created cup of noodles, but that one thing made him a billionaire. So
Yeah. No, and he was like 70 when he started.
yes, he
Really old.
was older. And you got Mr. Colonel Sanders, who
Yeah.
he was broke, his family left him. He was on his last leg, and then he franchises the Kentucky Fried Chicken. So
Sylvester Stallone. He had to sell his dog just to pay his rent right before his script for Rocky had been accepted. It was like the 10th rejection or so. And once he finally got it, he went and bought his dog back, and then he
wow,
the movie. Yeah. He said his only condition was that he would be the star of the film. And so nobody wanted to take him because he wasn't a name brand actor. But anyway, yeah, keep going.
Wow. So if you want to be able to do things that could bring a lot of scrutiny to you and you fear what people think, making sure what the natural course of success is will help you, because then when failure does come, or when someone really doesn't like what you do, it's going to happen no matter what. Even if a lot of people like it, there's going to be some people who just really, really don't like it, especially if it's more innovative. So you just have to be prepared for it, know it. And if you do, and if you know that's what all successful people go through, then hey, it's not as fearful, it's not as stressful, and you don't take it as hard.
And you likely have a fallback, right? So
yes. And I guess these things are just just natural things that any person, whether you're older or a kid, they need. You need someone who can support you. You need someone to try your stuff out on. You need to know that people are going to fail. You need to know that you're going to fail really bad at least one time in your life, if not multiple.
Yeah.
And- yes.
No, that's good. Well, I appreciate the advice. I appreciate the counsel. Thank you so much, Dr. Jacob. Thank you, listeners, for listening, and viewers for watching. Have a good rest of your day.